Welcome back to TXT Track Time. Trackies, you have been long asking us to speak to some of the possible competitors as it relates to Jamaica's dominance in the 100 meters and 200 meters, and who stands a chance to break through that wall. Well, Trackies, Abby Steiner. Now, track is that name. It should not be new to any of you guys. If you follow any of the track, channels out there, they're always lauding Abby Steiner and her performances since her collegiate career began. Now, track is at least as it relates to me, I get teased input in a while. I observed silently over the years, and I must say that I was not that impressed. I saw what she was doing. Even last year running that 21.77 at the US trials, I took it all in trackies. But for me, something about it was just not remarkable. Well, trackies, that was then, and this is now. Abby Steiner opened her season running, I believe it was a 400 meters, and then at the Armory, she ran the 300 meters, breaking the American record. And for me, track is yes, it was a record that fell, but it was just the fluidity. Some light switch, I believe, finally clicked into my mind and said, Tam, sit up and take Abby Steiner seriously. Track is, she looked very good. T, when did Abby Steiner start looking so good with her failing fans and all? Like, I mean, not to say anything about her form, but even when she was running, I just never took it that seriously, given that she wasn't as technically, in my mind, she wasn't as technically sound as I wanted her to be. But I realized that everything seems to be technically sound, but the hands going like this. And T, did we have a hood over our eyes this whole time? Abby has been running and running well.
I don't think we necessarily had a hood over our eyes. It's just that when you think about threatening the top athletes in the event, then you kind of just scratch certain athletes. And yes, she was just scratched, especially when you take into consideration when the times were done, where they were done, that kind of thing. You start to wonder to yourself, is that even going to follow through for world championships kind of thing?
I
So,
mean, one
I
second.
mean,
I would just want to jump in quickly and say, but why? Because if I just throw in Shericka into the mix, leading into consistently, she was basically performing on par, if not better than Shericka, leading into the World Championship. So why was Shericka held in such high esteem in our minds versus Abby prior to Shericka's big breakthrough going into a whole different stratosphere?
well, I think because typically we kind of know how Jamaicans perform, so we don't take their mid-season runs to be their final run, but we take that as something leading into what we hope will be better. So, take for instance, Sherika, going into trials, you know, I don't think anybody was expecting a 21.5. And, she gave us that 21.5 at trials. And then after that, she would have given us, the 21.4. So, I mean, when you take into consideration how Jamaicans typically perform, you would have been expecting her, especially with all the talk about, her getting better over the 100. So the 200 is obviously better. It's her favorite event or her favorite event. So she would do better there. So like the expectation was kind of there, maybe not so much on the time that she actually did end up dropping, but the expectation was there for her to do absolutely fantastic, right? And that followed through. For Abby Steiner, I think what happens most times is that people tend to underestimate, or maybe we tend to underestimate collegiate somewhat and just kind of leave it in the realms of collegiate. So yeah, I think that's probably what was happening with her, especially with me. But yeah, this
I mean,
season
panels
I've
like
sat
Flow
up.
Track was talking her up all of last year, and I basically ignored them.
I ignore them all day, every day. Anyway, as I was saying, this season though, I've sat up and I look and I've taken a look at her now, and I thought to myself, especially in that 300 run, as you said, she was so fluid, and that kind of technical strain that you saw from her before, it's not 100% perfect, but it's not what it was last year. So you can tell that there's definite improvement. She's been working hard on her technique, whichever coach, they've been fixing it, right? So, and the thing about Abby Steiner is she's the athlete I love to hate. She's one of those type of athletes. And the reason why I say I love to hate these type of athletes is because it's hard to really gauge them. A lot of times you can look at athletes and you can say, okay, this athletes look like they can run XYZ. But every time I remember last season looking at her terrible running form and thinking to myself, there's no way this girl can run any faster. And every time she just kept going better and better. And I love to hate her especially because she does what Jamaicans don't do, or at least I only see it in the junior ranks. They always go above and beyond when they're running. You know, the type of kill self running, and those are the type of running that can unlock certain potential that you didn't even know you had. I don't see our Jamaican seniors doing that. And for me, for an athlete that will do anything to win or anything to run faster, it's hard to put a cap on an athlete like that, and you have to stand up and look and say, okay, fine. If you try to gauge her and you say, all right, she's gonna run this, and she ran 10.77 last year, not 10.7, sorry, 21.77 last year. What's she gonna do this year when she looks so much better? And again, she's the kind of athlete that will kill themselves and run and do pull out every stop just to be the winner or to be the best. That's literally what I get from her. And that's threatening for me from a Jamaican perspective because I don't get that. As good as our athletes are, I don't get that extra that I'm gonna do everything I can. I don't get that. Do you get that from our Jamaican senior athletes? I don't really get that. I feel like they know they're good and then they just go out and run their best. But I don't get that if somebody was level with me, I would maybe break a leg to pass them, or run a. All right, let me give you an example. We saw Abby Steiner running the 4x4. We saw her running the 4x1. When you can take an athlete, when an athlete is hungry enough to be able to go into any slot and run their best. Kills no say you run against Elaine and you still can run a crazy time and even run faster than her on a quote unquote relay split. Right, you're going a 4x4 and you also pull out something where you never have yet and running that as well. Those type of athletes are scary. They're scary because you can't really gauge what they're gonna do when they're gonna do it.
Well, I just want to say that Shelley throughout her career has always pushed the envelope. So she definitely gives it her all. And then Elaine circa 2021, if we could see more of that type of Elaine um, year to
It's a
year.
misunderstanding. I'm
Um,
not saying they don't give their all. I'm saying, like when I talked about in the past when I said Shawnee Miller Weaver runs like she kill herself.
mhm.
That's what I mean. I'm not saying our Jamaican athletes are not giving their all. I'm saying there's a difference between there's this kind of kill self running that I don't think our Jamaicans exude to me. They
What
don't look
I
like
will
they're kill
say
self
is
running.
that Shericka, I believe that she has way more locked up potential that needs to be unlocked. I believe that even now Shericka is probably performing at maybe 85% of her
Let's use
capability.
Shericka on the 400.
Um,
Steven saw her possibly running 47s,
right,
right? So, and we didn't see that, and it's the type of kill self running is gonna get you to run these times. I don't see our athletes doing it, and that's just honest. I don't see them doing the kill self running.
right.
So that's why I
So
think Abby is scary.
right, so she didn't do that well at the World Championships last year after that run at the after running the 21.77 at the US trials. However, she was dangerous on those relays. So individually, her performances were lacking, but on the 4x1 and 4x4, that same mentality that you mentioned, like giving it all, leaving it on the track. I saw that there. And this year, those two races this season, she is leaving everything on the track. And for once, and then I just wanted to touch on her form again. I don't think it's much has changed. For at least for me, I don't think much has changed. I when I look back at her races, I think that the differences, I'm finally accepting that, because even last year there are sports pundits out there that were saying that her technique was good, and I laughed. I'm like, what are they talking about? They have been saying her technique is good for
No,
a
hold
while.
on.
And I'm
Some of
like,
these people are actually coaches, and we don't know it. We're not coaches, so maybe they're onto
so
something, and
they
we just don't
see
know.
things. So whereas we're just seeing the hands, and the hands just, or the hands are throwing everything off. It doesn't look like she's running technically sound. So now I realize that that hand movement is a signature of hers, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. And the most important thing, it's not stopping her from running fast.
Okay.
It's not hindering her progress at all. And then so when I kind of remove the hands from the equation, because we're used to seeing our athletes pump up down, and they say that the arms carry your legs even when your legs are not going, and her hands kind of tend to pump side to side, side to side, like switch. It's still going up down, but more in a diagonal way. So it's like, instead of like, like up down vertical, it's like up down, like diagonal, like off like this. So I think that I mistook that for, inability to pump in the right way. And once I removed that from the equation and I looked at what the rest of her body was doing, I must say that I think she's dangerous, and she's one to look out for this year. She's finally on my radar in a real way, where I think she
Does
will
she
pose
though?
a threat.
Does she though threaten her if we're expecting Shericka to maintain her pace? Does she threaten a Shericka though?
Nobody's threatening Shericka right now, and I love Elaine, but not even Elaine. Nobody's threatening Shericka now. Remember, I said she's performing at 85% of her capacity, whereas I believe that Elaine does have more to give as well. And Elaine is really just perfection. The power that Shericka has now, if she's doing what she was doing last year in training, Shericka should run faster than what she did this year. And I mean, if we're
Yeah,
thinking
I
about that,
don't
we're
I
thinking
don't
about
think
world
Abby
record.
threatens her. I don't think Abby threatens her, but Abby threatens everybody else hoping for a medal.
Yeah,
So there are three medals at the end of the day, right? So she definitely threatens everybody else, in my opinion,
right.
hoping for a medal. I don't know which Elaine is gonna turn up this season. I'm hoping that it's Elaine from 2021, right? And if it's Elaine from 2021, then I don't see her threatening that Elaine
Elaine
either,
either now.
right? So it all depends on the Elaine that turns up,
I feel
right?
like
So
Shericka now is separate, and then if Elaine is fit, then Elaine also is not. She can't throw in Elaine either.
so
But then everybody
okay.
else is fair game based on
Everybody else
who
is fair game. So if
now.
Elaine doesn't turn up at her best, then she's also fair game for Abby.
Right. So I
Yeah.
think the only person really, again, as you said, is, as I said, really is Shericka. I can't see anybody getting back to Shericka this year at all. I mean, Shericka's only had that one race or so this year. So, but I'm just going by where Shericka left off
No,
last year.
she raced outdoors in Jamaica, the
Right.
400.
So there, I haven't heard of any, I've only heard positive things coming out of her training camp as far as how she's feeling and everything. So I'm feeling that Shericka is just gonna be building on where she left off last year. Now, is she gonna run a world record? Is she gonna replicate the 21.45? Likely. I mean, she's just really getting into the height of her career. But either way, I
I
can't
don't
see
know.
anybody getting close to
I think I
Shericka.
want to see Shericka run more 200s. I think I think last year they snubbed the 200. I mean, for obvious reasons, because the 100 is where the money is more, obviously, in my mind at least. So, but in order to see consistency in an event, you have to run it more, if you know what I mean. Like, so say her last race, the Diamond League race, where she entered and she was looking to go fast, but it didn't really happen. I felt like if she had more 200s under her leg, if she was consistently doing it and going fast each time, then it would have probably prepped her, or she would have probably been in the frame of mind to go much faster than what she ran in that Diamond League finals. but I just don't see them making her do that 200 that much, other than necessary kind of thing. And that's the only downside, I think. But yeah, but anyway, back to Abby.
right?
Yeah,
Track is, are we joining the overhype Abby Steiner train? Are we going off, or is there something to it? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Should we be taking Abby Steiner seriously? Can she actually medal in the 200 meters at this year's World Championships? Let us know what you think. I'm Tam.
I'm T.
We'll catch you in another one.